Hi everyone, Sarah here from Sarah Humphrey Creates, my little creative space to have a bit of a play and a bit of fun away from what I normally do. So that's my hand embroidery channel. If you haven't seen that, that's up here. And I do love my embroidery, but I do love to experiment and have a play and look at some new ideas and just have a little bit of fun away from that channel as well. So this is my place to do that. So today what I wanted to do was, I wasn't going to make this video yet, but I was going to do this anyway, and I've been experimenting. I thought, well, I may as well just film it and show you, because if it works, I've got to do it all over again. If it doesn't work, you won't see this video. So win-win situation for me, I think. So today I am playing with some tea, and I'm dyeing some fabric with some tea. So I've done some little samples already, so I'm going to show you those and show you the sorts of things I'm going to have a go at. And I'm by no means an expert in this. I've had a little play around and had a little bit of fun with it, and I've got some new ideas that I'm going to try as well. So they may not work, but that's all the fun of experimenting and playing. And if you see my embroidery channel, you'll see that video on there about sampling and how important it is to do sampling and to try things out and to experiment and not be afraid to make mistakes. So we may make mistakes today, but we don't know until we try. So I'm going to show you the samples that I've already made, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to prep some fabric for some more samples, and then I will come back and hopefully show you an end result that I'm quite pleased with. So I'm going to switcheroo this camera, and then we'll have a look down on the table. So these are a few samples that I've had a go at. Some are more successful than others, and I'm just going to run through them quickly and just talk about how I've got what I've got, and then what I'm going to do for my next experiment. So I've been using ordinary tea bags for this. You can see what beautiful colour they've come out just as they've dried. It's still got the tea in that one, and this has got really, really amazing colour. So the idea is to get that colour onto some fabric. Do keep the tea bags, because they can be used for something else. I think that might come up in another video. And I've got fruit tea one there. So this is a slightly paler colour. You can see it's not quite done this effect here. Some of them come out pinker than others, but when I undo that tea bag, it might be sort of in the creases and stuff. There might be something interesting. So I have used those as well, and I'm saving all of those. I've also added into this experiment a few nails, so we're doing a little bit of rust dyeing as well, because I did discover in my experiments that the rust reacts really well with the tea dyed fabric. If you do the tea on its own, it's nice. The rust on its own is interesting, but you put the two together and you get all sorts of other colours as well. So there's a little bit of this in here as well. So just any rusty nails that are lying around, these are just pins. I think that was for the ceiling in the studio, and some washers, anything like that that's got an iron content in it will go rusty eventually. So if you see anything, save it, because it might do something really interesting. So I'm going to put a few of those in later as well. But let's start with this one. So this was my first experiment, and I literally just got a tea bag and I put it in, I think, like a plastic food container, and wrapped this up in this, and you can actually see the tea bag where it went there, and I just wrapped that up and folded it and just put it in the tea. Now it doesn't come out very strong because I didn't really steep this. It was one tea bag. I think it had been used already, but it has come out a little bit. It has got quite a nice subtle colour there. This was just a plain calico, so it was already a little bit of a sort of natural cream colour. It's unbleached, so it's not white. So that one was quite subtle. I thought, oh, I must be able to do something a little bit better than that. So this one was next, this one and this one. And you can see how much better this was. So this was literally, I don't know, 4 tea bags in a container, and I just layered the fabric on. I put the tea bags on top. You can just again see where the tea bags were. And then I put 2 more tea bags on, and then another bit of fabric and 2 more tea bags on. I just made like a tea bag sandwich, and then I just poured the water over it. So it was really, really quite neat tea. And you can see this fabulous colour that this has come out. It's a little bit like onion skin colour, if you've ever dyed anything with onion skins. So it's really nice, sort of warm, yellowy, ochre-y kind of colour. So that came out really strong. So that was much more successful. This is on a linen, which I thought came out really nice. It somehow picks up this texture of the linen as well. It's not uneven colouring, which I really liked that actually. So it came out super well on the linen as well. Nice, deep, strong colour. Also threw in some sort of little bits of ends of lace edging. You thought you might as well. You can use those for a project, so they came out pretty good. And then just all these little bit sort of leftover calico that come off projects, or I'm just trying to make something the right size, and I just thought, well, I'll put those in the pot too. Now this doesn't have any tea dye in it, but it has got the nails on it, and you can see where the nail has been sitting here, and it rusts very quickly. This reacts really quickly. This wasn't very long, so I just spray it with water, just put the rusty stuff on top, and it will start to do this effect. And just thought that was really amazing, and that could be a little piece for some slow stitching, so you don't need to chuck anything away. This is a great way to use up little ends. Now these ones came out super well. I was really chuffed with these, and these are one of the first ones I did actually, and I'm not too sure how I did it, which is a bit annoying, but I think I had a pot of rusty nails. I just keep them in a jar and put some water in them and just let nature do its thing. So the water you get ends up sort of very full of rust basically. And put some gloves on when you're going to use it, by the way, because your hands go this colour as well, so you make sure you protect your hands when you're going to do it. So I just again wrapped the nails on this, and I think I actually wrapped it up like that, and I put it in the pot and I just left it, and it came out really amazing. I thought that was really lovely. And these little spots, sort of this black colour, I'm not too sure how I got those, and you'll see from this one in a minute that this one's got tea on it, and this is the colour it goes with the tea. So whether there was some specks of tea bags lying around or something, and just these little tea leaves just made this black. So I thought that one was really great. So this one was dyed in tea as well, and you can see suddenly how these other colours come out. You just get this sort of bluey purpley grey colours as well, so the tea reacting with the rust. So whatever's in the tea, I'm not a chemist, somebody might be able to tell me, so whatever's in the tea, and the tea is acidic, so it will react to the rust, but it just made these amazing colours as well, and I thought they were beautiful, just adds a whole nother layer to it. So just some nails on it. You can see a screw there, in fact, another one over there. And the fact that this had been dipped in the tea first and then had the nails on it means you've got this really beautiful set of colours. Tried it on a different coloured fabric. The lighter ones obviously work the better, I don't need to tell you that, but doesn't mean it's got to be cream or white. So that pink one came out quite nicely, and again just some tea here, just taking, I may have even laid it down on the plastic that had tea on the plastic, and that's done that, which is sort of a little bit tea bag shape. So I think that was literally just the iron, the nails on it, and then somehow it's come into contact with some tea there, so that was really fun. You can see how different they are on this side. So this is the side that the nails have actually been lying on. You can see how prominent that is, and if I turn it over it's not so prominent. So you can have a more subtle effect if you want to and use the back. Well, that's what it looks like on the front. Just a few of these experimenting. That one was dipped in the pot that had been with the nails in it, that had been sitting there for quite a while. So there's quite a lot of rust in there, and it goes this really dark colour. They call it saddening. You can put iron in dye pots to change the colours, and it saddens the colour, and you can sort of see it here actually, how sort of grey and sad it's gone, I suppose. Yeah, so that one was just in a little bit longer, it's gone darker. This one much lighter, so just dipped this one in tea and left this end out of the pot and this end in the pot, so it's sort of soaked up. Upwards you can actually see where it's sort of getting dry, I suppose. I'm not even sure if I wet this or not. And then I put a couple of nails on it afterwards. Now I don't know why this one hasn't gone black. Don't know. Makes you pay attention when you're doing your sampling. Now this was a surprise because I didn't think synthetic things would take the dye, and I put it in trying to create, I don't know what piece it was on now, but trying to create this pattern. I've seen people doing it on YouTube, and you put that on and this pattern remains behind. It somehow soaks up the tea, and it didn't work, but it did turn the net that nice tea colour. That was a white or cream net, so it does work on synthetics, folks. This one was another little place. So this is a cotton little embroidered edge. It's got a bit of a tear in it, so it was sort of going waste really. I thought this is a good experiment. I've actually, you can see that, put that on top of that piece there. So dipped it in the tea, so it's had a tea dye, and then I put these nails on the top, and look how black this has gone. It really sucked it out, went really dark, and it went through both pieces as well. So that one kind of fits that, or you can use it individually and take it off. So really, really strong reactions happening with some of these fabrics. This is just a cotton as well. And a lovely, again, edging, embroidered edging there. So dipped the whole thing in tea and then just left that end in there, and it sort of soaked up and wicked up there and made that really beautiful gradation of colours up there. So really nice and dark. Look how dark you can get with just a tea bag. It does make you wonder what it does to your insides. Oh God, if it does that to the fabric. So really nice subtle shading on that bit. And this bit, I want to show you these as a comparison from how subtle you can get to how crazy mad you can get. Now this one was the fruit tea. So very pale, and I thought, oh, it's not done anything, you know, but this was actually white. It was white. Not got anything to compare it to. So it has coloured it, in fact, but it is subtle. And then I just put a few nails and things on top of it. So I just sprayed it again and just put those things. I found this little coil of wire, came out of a watch actually, which come out really nicely, and just this nice subtle grey colour. So you can get really nice subtle colours with it. And then this mad crazy thing here, I soaked the fabric in water just so it would soak up, and I put it in the bottom of the tray and just piled all of the iron nails and stuff on top of it, and it just did this. And I think I left it overnight and pulled it out the next day, and look how strong it is. That was a just a plain cotton. It was just a calico, so white or cream, very, very pale, and it just did that overnight. Absolutely bonkers. So really, really strong action. So you can get something really strong if you want it, or if you just want something nice and subtle, you wanted to use it for a background, maybe to suggest some stitches on, you can have both. So it is learning to control between that and how you can get what you want. So now I've done those experiments, I've got a little bit more knowledge. I want to just test again how I might have got some of them. These ones I really like. So I'm going to do a little bit more dyeing. So mainly with the tea. I'm going to steep some in tea, and I'm just going to add a few rusty things here and there just to try and provoke some of these reactions again and see what we get out of that. So just before we jump into this bit, I just want to show you this very quickly. So I just was making a few little books and things, and I thought, oh, well, I'll try a cover for it. So I cut myself a piece of fabric the right size, and again, I just put the nails on it. So there's no tea on this. You can't see any of that dark sort of grey colour. So just nails, and I rolled it up, just put them lengthways. Got some of them are bent. And rolled it up lengthways and got that quite exciting thing there. And then I chucked in a bit of this as well. Now this is silk, and if you saw my video on my embroidery channel about things I bought from the Harrogate Knitting and Stitching Show, this was it. And I bought this big hank of this silk material, and there's tons of it. It goes on forever. When I unwound it, I couldn't believe how much was in it. And basically there's just pieces of silk, and they've been sewn together, strips sewn together, so you get a big long continuous piece. It was one continuous piece, but I thought that would be really nice for some projects. And it's already slightly different colours. It's a bit peachy, it's a bit cream, it's a little bit of just sort of beige colour in there. So I thought that would be good to use, and I just again put that in with this and just sort of scrunched it up and put it in there, and it's taken quite well to the silk. Now I probably don't need to mention that rusty things will keep on rusting. So these are not going to be heirlooms that are going to be pulled out 200 years later. You can slow the process down with some salt. You give them a salt bath afterwards. Apparently, I haven't tried this yet, and that will sort of stop the rust process happening. But once it started going, I'm very sceptical that you can stop it altogether. But I don't know, I quite like that's part of the fun of that. Things that I normally make are made to sort of last, so it's quite fun to make something that's not going to last. Everything is transient at the end of the day, so I'm not too worried about that. But if you were, you could just then wash these pieces in a salt solution just to stay the rusting process. So I've got some fabrics here. So these are what we are going to stick in the tea dye pot, and I just thought I'd go through what we've got really. So there's some of that silk. You can see how much of a different colour it is when you put it against the white. It's already got an interesting colour to it. I've got more silk here. So I've got some silk ribbons that I got left over from the end of a reel. And what else have we got? A little bit of, so this is that one that I had previously that I dyed So it's dark at the bottom, lighter at the top. That's what it looked like originally. Let me just see if I can pull out that piece and we can compare those. There it is. So you can see how well that's taken the dye. Really amazing. I've got a little bit of that. It's quite a thin cotton. That, I've got some calico, just plain unbleached cotton. That works really well. And I'll come to that in a minute. A little bit more silk. This is silk habitai. Very fine. So it'll be interesting to see how that one comes out. Not tried a bit of that yet. Some sort of muslin cloth here. That's a bit see-through as well. Some more ribbons. Another cotton embroidered edging there. These come out really pretty because you get this pattern coming through and you just get all these different textures. This is just some pre-embroidered, I haven't embroidered this fabric. This is what my curtains are made from in my studio. A little bit of leftover that. This is interesting because it's got sequins on it and obviously the sequins aren't going to dye. So that should come out 2 colours. What else have we got? Little bits more calico. I've got some strips here, so I want to tie all of these fabrics into a little kind of ball of fabrics and put them in the pot like that. If you just lay them flat, they're nice. You just get that nice even dye. But if you want something a bit more interesting, I'm going to just try with scrunching them up and trying it. There's a little one, look. That's the sort of thing that I'm going to do. I thought you can use string, but you might as well use something that you can use later. So I've just ripped myself some calico strips and I can use those for tying. So if you keep those out of the way. A little bit more ribbon. That one's a blue one. A bit more ribbon there. This is quite interesting. This was packaging. Something came wrapped in it. I don't know what. It's sort of, I don't even know what this is. But very light and soft actually. So it'd be interesting to see what that does, if anything at all. More calico there. And these things are quite interesting. I found these in my stash. This is why we never throw anything away, folks. So a little bit of Ada fabric there. Cross stitching. And found a bit of velvet. And then these little sample things I thought were fun. I don't know where they came from, but just little material samples of different kinds of things. And they've got some great patterns on these ones, so hopefully that'll somehow pick the tea up and be able to keep that pattern. Thought I might just throw that in as it is. I think, oh, I'll take it out, but it's got a staple in it, which might do rusty things. And I thought just throw that up and chuck it in as it is. There's another one here, satin in. It's got a black one in the middle, which obviously isn't going to do anything, but could just leave that in there anyway. Or take them apart and use them individually. There's another one there. So we've got loads of different textures going on, different materials going on. Some are see-through, some are white, some are cream. So quite a lot to experiment with. So I'm going to make, I don't know where that's gone now. That little one in there disappeared. There it is. So I'm going to make a load of these. No particular way that I'm going to do this. I'm just going to scrunch them up and I'm going to put some different materials together. So let's make a few bundles and then we can get them in the dye pot. Right, so in no particular order, let's just grab some stuff. You might want to cut your pieces a bit smaller. So a bit of calico, a little bit of this ribbon. Let's try a bit of this, shall we? Wrap it around and get a bit of that calico. And if you do it like a present, you can just twist it in the middle and then wrap that one that way and that way, and I'm just going to tie them up, and hopefully we can use these bits of calico as well afterwards. They do it quite tight because I think where I've tied it, it shouldn't soak in as easily, or soak in easily here and not so much here. Just put a double one in that. So there's a little bundle. Let's make another one. Let's put that silk on the outside. I might tie it up with that bit actually. A bit of this satin in as well. Let's tie it up with this kind of ribbony stuff. They're quite fun. Let's do one more because I want to try these, and I'm just going to separate them out, I think. Somehow I'm going to leave the paper in. This is what's fun about this channel. I'd never do that on my embroidery channel. what's the worst that can happen? Let's screw the whole thing up in a piece of this because I want to see how this comes out. Can we do anything else around that? Let's tie it up with a bit of silk. Put it in a bow, just because I think they look quite pretty, as they are, actually. Right, I'm going to finish off the last few and then we'll put them all together and see what we've got. So I've got a few more that I've also done, so let's add these ones to it. So I'm just putting this in like a ceramic bowl. If you put it in a metal one, if you've got any nails, it's going to react with it. So I suggest something glass or ceramic that's not going to rot away. I'm just going to place them all in there. I think they look rather lovely. And there's other ones in here, a little bit of netting in there with some silk ribbon around it. I've got a little bit of that pink colour again in that one. This is a long one that I did, so I've got some nails wrapped up and then I've gone round and round and round that. So that'll be interesting to see how that one comes out. A little bit of that weird fluffy stuff, all sorts of stuff going on. So I've just made loads of those. They look fab as they are. So let's go and get the tea. Okay, so this is my tea dye pot, so just a glass jug and quite a lot of these in. So this is just black tea bags. I think there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. And then I just put a couple of red bush tea bags in because these actually get really nice red colour. They're rather amazing, so I stuck a couple of those in there as well. So I've steeped that, and that's cold, and I just steeped that overnight. And I'm just going to tip that all over this. So here goes nothing. It's like baking a big fabric casserole. Now I haven't wet these before because this will soak in this tea. I'm not worried that it won't. And I kind of want it to do it at different times as well. I don't just want it to all soak nice and evenly. And if I just give those tea bags a squidge, get a bit more out of that. Those are all the tea bags. Remember, don't forget to save them. Could even just leave them on top. Actually, I might do that. Leave them on top to dry. But let's just give these a little rotate. Start to get that tea soaking up into them. Now, patience is the name of the game for this, which sometimes I don't have a lot of, which you might be surprised. I want to see the results instantly. I'm excited now. I want to see what it's like. But I think the best thing to do with this is just to leave them, let them soak up all of that tea, and then let them mainly dry, because from the past few I've done, oh, look at that velvet. Ooh. If you leave them to dry, then they do interesting things at the edges. That's what I'm hoping these are going to do. May put a touch more water in that. We'll see how it goes. So just kind of making sure they're in the tea. I'm not worried about little white bits. That's going to be part of it, I think. Right, so I am just going to leave it literally for a few days. Let's put these tea bags on top. And I'm going to be patient. I am going to be patient, and I'm just going to leave that to virtually dry, and then we're going to take them apart and see what we've got. Okay, so it's now Wednesday. This one in the tea dye on Saturday, and it's all dry, I think, just about. Anyway, might be a little bit damp in the middle. So just to explain what I did, I actually covered it in another jug of tea. I was just worried it wasn't going to soak right in, and I didn't want to do all that effort if it didn't. So I put some more tea bags in, I put some red bush ones in, and I covered it again, and I let that soak overnight. And then I drained the tea out the next morning. I just tipped that up and drained everything out because I thought it's never going to dry otherwise. And then just left it for a little bit just to soak in. So the top bit was kind of dry, but underneath it was still sitting in kind of a little bit of the tea that was left. And then I actually decided it wasn't going to dry very quickly, so I stood them on end. So I squeezed a bit of the tea out and just stood them up like that so the tea drained down inside, and these top bits would dry sooner than the bottom bits. So I just stood them up like that, and hopefully to get a different effect on the top and the bottom, because I thought they're never going to dry otherwise. And then I actually did resort, because it's very cold here in the UK at the moment, and I did resort to putting them on the radiator, and then they dry quickly, and then they went all this really kind of interesting dark colour. We've got some really wonderful colours in here, and these little bits that were out and drying first out in the air have gone quite brown, so they look quite exciting. So let's stop talking about it and let's unwrap a few and see what they look like. So I'm just going to unwrap a couple. I just want to see some of them specifics here. This one with the velvet I really like to see. This one with the lace is doing something interesting underneath. And then maybe one of the ones that I put the nails in. You can see how black this has gone. This is the one with the nail inside it. This was the one when I wrapped them all up, and that's gone really, really dark. So it'll be exciting to see what they are. So let's just do those few and see what we've got. Right, hopefully I didn't tie these too tightly. Got some scissors ready just in case. So this was the bit of kind of embroidered edging here. That's really interesting. Look at that grey colour. So that's from the nails. And some of them I just laid a nail on the top while they were just sitting there in the tin. I just put one on top, so it's just taken a little bit of it just for a bit of added extra interest. That's gone really nice and brown and crusty at the edge. Look how interesting that is. And the creases have added to it as well, so it's taken in the creases. A little bit more grey there, so already quite excited by that. And let's look at this velvet, because this is really what I want to... Oh, look at that. Oh, that's come out really well. Wow, look at that. And that was just a white velvet stretchy one, so it's synthetic fabric, and it's just taken it on the edge there, and where it's been crunched up inside it hasn't. And then a little bit of grey there, purpley grey from those nails that have just crept in there. So that's beautiful. I'm really liking that. Can't even remember what else to put in here now. Oh, a bit of Ada. Oh, that's the cracking. Oh, I'm so chuffed with how these have come out. Oh, there comes the nail. Let's put the nail over there. So that's just had that inside it. So just that little one, and you can see actually where it's black at the bottom. So that's where it's done its work. And then I could just iron these out. I could actually just rinse them out again. I may try that with one or two just to see how much of the tea comes out of it. Oh, look at that on that side. Even stronger on that side. And the thing is, where it is rusty, there might be a bit of rust on there. So just be careful of that if you're going to iron it. That's absolutely fabulous. Liking that. Just a little bit of... I think this is sateen on the back. So this is like a lining fabric, because it's got a diagonal grain on it. You just couldn't get these effects any other way, could you really? Oh, there's another one. It's going to be the tinkle of nails as they come out. So already super impressed with those. They look amazing. Let's just lie them out. That velvet, really impressed with that. So let's try this one, which I conveniently tied in a bow. So this is a bit of silk ribbon. Here, this is 100% silk. Oh, there's quite a lot of it. So that's just given a really nice texture to that as well. You can use that. Definitely be nice to do some actual silk ribbon embroidery with that. Iron that and get it flat again and do some embroidery in that. That's going to look amazing. So that net, it does take, even though it's synthetic, it does take, look, really interesting. That one, it's got a little bit of red fluff, but that didn't do anything. So this is a little bit of the, like the muslin, like the scrim. And yeah, where you crunch it up, that has a big effect on what it does with the tea. Just get those little bits, a little bit of linen there, quite coarse linen. Look how dark that's gone on the edge as well. These are fabulous. I'm liking these. Still a little bit damp, this one in the middle, so I didn't want them to go mouldy at all, so I thought I would get them out. They can dry out as they are. So this one, if you remember, was the curtains from my studio. They're actually blinds, a little bit of the leftover fabric. So this was cream, and the sequins obviously matched when it was cream, and now they haven't dyed, so they stick out as white against this really interesting tea dye background. So that's done something quite interesting. So quite subtle where it was screwed up in the middle. So if you want the effects, you need those on the outside. The more plain effect is in the middle, but that's done quite a nice interesting edging with that. And let's just try this little mummified, it's like a little Ramified slag or something. So again, some silk ribbon. Now this one I wrapped quite, oh, there we go. So a bit of everything going on here. Look at that dark colour. Really want to do some silk ribbon in this. So what I will do with this is I will iron this. Just take care when you're ironing things that have had rust on, because that can be a bit abrasive. So just do it between a cloth. Might stick it through my hair straighteners. That one is beautiful. And then what have we got here? So a little bit more, yeah, a little bit more silk ribbon there, tiny 2mm one. Now that's interesting. Come back to that. Oh, look at this. Wow. So that's the back. So that's the bit that hasn't had the nails on it. And that's the bit that has. It goes black. Really black. I'm surprised how dark it goes. But I just love when it hits the tea, this grey purpley colour that it goes. You just wouldn't get that if you did it with water. You just get this nice tea colour and this nice rust stains, but you don't get that grey, purpley grey colour. It's almost peach as well. Look at that with the lace edging as well. Now this one was an experiment and it's not done a lot, but that's why I experiment. So this was that weird packaging stuff. I said I didn't know what it was, and it just sort of fibrous. Really, you pull it apart and it's hardly taken it all, a little bit here and there. But otherwise it's as it was. So not a success that, but you don't know unless you put these things in and try them. And then I think we'll just do this one here. And you can use these little things as well in if you're doing some slow stitching or you want a little bit of interesting embellishment, you know, save all of these things. That's why we use them. Right, so that's got a bit more of this stuff. Right, now there's loads of nails in here and they're all going to fall out, which they are. That's what they look like when they're out. Really interesting objects in themselves, actually. So I put quite a few in. You can fit, oh look, there's a screw there. Oop, I'll keep on coming. Now, this time, I was prepared for that one to be a no-go, but look at that. That is definitely usable. So it comes out with something really strong. So in just the tea dye, it's not picked up any of the tea at all, but it is picking up the rust. It's picking up those nails. So that is a success, I would call that. Can definitely use that in something. Just ending with a big pile of stuff here. And this one on the bottom, which was just a plain piece of calico. That's fantastic. Now when this was cooking, the tea dye, it literally just went black. The whole thing went black, and I thought, oh, that's just going to be a big piece of black fabric. And actually when it's dried out, and I don't know if drying it a little bit quicker on the radiators helped with that process at all, but it isn't completely black, and there's so many different subtle colours in there as well. That one is really successful. So that's more successful than I thought it would be. In fact, they all are so far. So I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to unwrap all of these and we'll have a little review at the end. Well, I'm pretty impressed with that, folks. Look at all of that fabric. I've got an amazing tea dyed fabric. That's come out way more successful than I thought it was going to. The only thing that didn't work was these little bits, really, but that was an experiment. I'm amazed that more of it didn't work. I've just got all these wonderful materials to play with. So I'm just going to have a little sort through them quickly, pull out a few of my favourites, and then just talk about what you could actually do with them. So I've just sorted them into rough categories. I've got my calico strip bindings there. I've got my silk ribbons, love these. Everything that's sort of lacy or lace effect in there. Just some plain calico pieces, cotton pieces in the middle. I've got some silk here. I'm going to come back to that one in a minute. And this is my embroidered fabric from my studio blinds. There. This is a bit more calico. That's there. This is the specialist stuff. So there's the velvet, there's the scrim, there's that weird one. I don't know what it is. Packaging, and the Aida fabric as well. And then this one here is all those little bits. Do you remember I had those little sample pieces? So the pieces from the sample books. I actually put 2 of the sample books in as they were, and I just wanted to show you these because I really love this. This is still damp actually, so I will just dry that one out, but it's still got the label on it, and it's just starting to go rusty where the staples are, which I quite like that. So the paper's taken it a little bit as well, and then they're just a nice subtle tea colour, but I like that all the samples have gone the same colour. Got a little bit at the edge there. This little book of samples, so I'm going to keep that one like that. There's another one there. But that one's interesting because that's got some patterns in the fabric which haven't taken as well as the background fabric, so you get 2 different tones there, but all the same kind of fabrics and all taken, so they're quite exciting as well. And I think, where did that velvet go? That first one is one of my favourites. I just love the texture of it, that it's stretchy, the subtle colours on it, it's got everything going on the pattern. That one came out super well. And another one that came out super well is this silk. So this is the silk habitat. It's the really fine silk. And it's quite scrunched up, but if I just pull that out, just absolutely beautiful piece of fabric. I don't even know if I'd want to do anything with it. It's so beautiful as it is. And then along those lines, this little bit, just this small piece, came out very similar sort of shades of the purples and the greys and the browns, and just these white sequins staying as they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort these out and we're going to iron them a little bit and sort them out. Some of them are quite nice scrunched, but I think I would like to iron them and see what the potential is in them, because you're going to ask me, what can you do with all these? Now you've got this big pile of tea and iron dyed fabrics. So there's lots of things you can do with these. So just treat them as if they were a normal piece of fabric. So you could do some embroidery on it, you could iron that out, you could apply that to a frame, you could tighten it up, you could attach it to a backing fabric if you just wanted that piece and you wanted the edges. I quite like these sort of rough edges, and you could embroider something on that. You could do something quite freestyle and follow the shapes of the marks that have been made. You could do a bit of gold work around here, just pick up some of these shapes with the gold or a little bit of copper or something, do something a bit abstract, or you could go quite traditional. And I think a traditional sort of flower with that background would be really interesting. Often the background is forgotten and you just stitch a flower, it's all about the flower. And you stitch the flower in the background, a bit sort of just something to stitch it on. But it would be really nice to incorporate this background into your design and see if you can make a feature of it. It could be a landscape with some of these. This one is also really stunning. You'd have to think carefully about what you did on this, because obviously that background is quite strong and might detract from what you put on it. So this might be something a bit more abstract, I think I would do with this. I'm definitely seeing gold work on this, so do watch out, because there might be a video coming on that. So you could do that with it. You can use it for slow stitching if you've done any slow stitching. So you just take some fabrics, you can layer them up top of each other. You could rip a little bit off there. Hard to see with all those in the background, and then you could apply a bit of ribbon to it, and then you just work some stitching. You just do it in your hand, some running stitch is dead simple one, just to start to fasten these pieces of fabric together. And it's about the process of stitching and not what your end result is, but you could again just respond to the fabrics that you've got in your stitching and just do some slow stitching on it. Just make a piece, be really instinctive with it, just enjoy being in the moment and do some stitching on it. So another thing that would be quite fun is to do some patchwork. If you're a patchworker and a quilter, you could cut some hexagons out of here and you could make a really beautiful design. You could bring a little bit of order to this chaos. It does look a bit like chaos on my table, but you could bring a bit of order to it. So you can make these same similar shapes that fit together. You could put them with some plain colours. You could use the more subtle ones if you wanted to. Can you imagine those together in a quilt, and then something else maybe decorative around the edge that complemented it, that's not been made this way, or something plain or something colourful, bring some colours into it. That could look really amazing as well. And I do love silk ribbon embroidery, just doing silk ribbon embroidery, so I can definitely see making something out of these, and maybe some sort of vintage traditional ribbon work with it. So little flowers and plants and leaves with it, and I think I would actually iron all these. Ribbon is best if it's in its nice flat form, so you can construct the stitches with it and you can get what you want with the stitches. So I would run all of these through the hair straightener. It's the easiest way, but an iron is perfectly sufficient, and we could see all those lovely colours and actually do some stitching. I've got some different widths as well. I've got some wide and some really thin, so it's a lot of choice about what I do there, and I could just do that on a plain background as well and let the colours of the ribbons make the piece very special. So I think that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed that little play with me. I've really had a lot of fun making this and just making this big pile of fabric, and I'm excited to see what I can do with it and to see some projects come out of this. So do keep watching and see what I create with those. And I will put some pictures up on the community page when I've ironed some of these things, or if I make something out of them, I'll put them up. So do keep an eye on there and see what I make with these things. And if you've had any ideas that I haven't of things that could come out of this, then do let me know in the comments below this video, or even if you've had a go at this yourself and you've discovered something exciting about it that I haven't yet, I would love to hear from you. So thank you for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.